104.1 The Truth News Time is 6:33, and welcome back to the Jon Justice Show. Look for a high today, right around 96, currently 69 degrees outside. We're in Washington, D.C. It's their Hold Their Feet to the Fire on Talk Radio's annual drive for immigration reform, part of being put on by FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. We're joined this morning with the president of FAIR, Dan Stein. Good morning, sir. How are you?
It's a real pleasure to be here, John.
I got to say thank you for the amazing setup. We've had some callers, and I'm going to paint a little bit of a picture here of what we're doing in the broadcast setup. But we're at the Phoenix Park Hotel, which is just a block or two away from our nation's capital, right across the street from the National Postal Museum, where FAIR held a nice dinner spread and drinks and had an award ceremony last night, and it was, and even just for as. I mean, it's the National Postal Museum, probably not high on the list of places where people go, but even being there last night and sort of having it to ourselves was quite a treat for us. Inside the Phoenix Park Hotel, and I don't even know how old this hotel is. It's been here quite a long time.
Probably the 1940s.
Yeah, a beautiful hotel, and we are essentially interspersed throughout different rooms on the first and second floor through some 47 talk show hosts that are there.
47, yeah.
47 talk show hosts that are broadcasting throughout the day. We all have our separate tables in different rooms with our broadcast setup, and it's a fantastic opportunity to talk about the issues of the day, to get everybody in our nation's capital to frame it here, and it works on so many different levels. The one thing I wanted to ask you was, what is it that you hope happens here when all this? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about immigration reform, but what's your ultimate goal in doing this event?
Well, I've been working on the issue for almost 30 years now, and immigration politics are a little different than most because you have this elite grassroots divide. Mm-hmm. The people think one thing, the elites are handmaidens of special interests big time, and more so than most other issues, and they think another. Talk radio is so important on so many fronts, so your show is extremely important, but really one of the most important areas is on immigration policy, the immigration discussion. People simply don't get the truth about why we don't control our borders as a nation, mm-hmm. why we're letting people continue to come in, even all these years after 9/11, why we haven't implemented all those 9/11 Commission recommendations, why we see efforts by business to weaken the Real ID Act and secure driver's licenses, how the cheap labor interest work with these groups on the far left to bring about continued immigration chaos. Only through the internet and talk radio, primarily, mm-hmm. the means by which we can get the truth to the public about the specific issues that are going on out there here in Capitol Hill. When they feel the heat, those guys obviously don't want to be trite, but they start listening. They put Janet Napolitano. I don't need to tell folks in Arizona Janet Napolitano's track record. She worked to thwart and undermine everything we and activists and groups in Arizona tried to do to help secure the borders with all sorts of sleight of hand and leisure demand techniques. She worked to try to keep it coming in without, pretending she was actually trying to do something. And, she's continued that track record here with the administration. Very tough for the average person to see through the spin and the rhetoric. Mm-hmm. So, for example, on health care, we got out to the public and said, you know what, I don't care what they say. I don't care who says it and how high up it goes. Illegal aliens are going to get health care under the way this House bill is drafted. And sure enough, it all exploded when Joe Wilson said the shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
You lie. And even though Nancy Pelosi said it's not true, they're working to try to make sure they fix it. So, this stuff is key. Talk radio is like a vital part of American democracy.
Well, what's fascinating about an event like this as well is even apart from the broadcast part of it, which is obviously the key component, in peeling back the curtain a little bit, it's amazing when you have 47 talk show hosts, and then most of us have brought somebody with us, and we have groups that we're with, and and so you're getting into the hundreds of individuals that are part of this event, and this close to being in Washington D.C. and in this area, when the shows are done. The conversation doesn't stop, and what I found fascinating was being in the different bars or the hotels or the National Postal Museum last night for that event. Most of the individuals here with our badges are wearing them as we walk around, and you were interspersed even unknowingly with individuals who are making these decisions, just down the street, and those conversations continue. It's surprising just how big of an effect that it has, and you don't even realize who is sitting next to you at the bar and who they are. And so it's more than just the broadcast part of it. I mean, it really is an event that kind of has tentacles that runs out and spreads the message throughout the city.
Well, beyond that, too, when you have almost 50 talk hosts representing millions of listeners who come together on one issue, they're telling Congress, they're telling everybody within earshot, this is a big deal issue. This is a big deal. People want to know what is going on. What are you guys doing in Washington? And they know they're not going to be able to pull the wool over people's eyes. It's huge. It's a huge event. And I mean, look, I know there are opposition groups that want to keep the chaos going. They put a lot of pressure on the station management. They put a lot of pressure on the Postal Museum and on the hotel. You know, and God bless them, you know, people stand tall and they say, you know, freedom of speech and exchange of ideas is what this is all about. We're going to win this thing because the American people want us to win.
And I know before the event took place, Media Matters took a shot, and you had your letter back as well in regards to all that. And no big surprise. I mean, an event like this pops up, and they've got their form letters, and they've got to try to make their complaint. It's not a huge surprise, but we actually saw a few Media Matters folks wandering the halls yesterday. So it's but again, you know, it's when you have the truth on your side and they're here, it's fascinating because they're left with nothing. The argument's not there. They're looking for a controversy and a bias that isn't there.
It's also true that this issue did not used to be quite so partisan. You had a very strong component of moderate Democrats, good government liberals and stuff, who understood if you didn't control your borders, you wouldn't deliver good quality public education, energy independence, or anything else we care about as a nation. And we you know, the health care debate, of course, threw the immigration issue back front and center after Senator McCain and Obama sort of chloroformed it during the campaign by agreeing to not talk about it.
Right.
You know, those guys really, you know, tried to put the issue to bed. It's back. It's back big time. It's been back on the health care issue. And in the economy, John, it has totally changed the way we're looking at the issue now. How can you possibly justify bringing in foreign workers? And see, the coalition that normally pushes the bad immigration legislation is led by big business that wants to use so-called low-cost labor. It's killing us financially, but it's obviously a subsidy to the employers. Big business doesn't see that they can get a big guest worker program through in this economy. Can the far left push a mass amnesty program without the active support of big business? My answer right now would be probably not. Probably not, particularly after the way the Dems are taking it on the chin on the immigration. Every time they start talking about a massive spending bill, the question of illegal immigrant eligibility will continue to raise its ugly head.
How soon do you think you were going to see a move by the Obama administration on some comprehensive immigration reform, amnesty?
When comprehensive amnesty?
Yeah. When do you expect to see that begin to really be pushed forward? Do you think they're going to wait until they find out how they do on healthcare reform and cap and trade, or do you think that you're going to try to squeak it in underneath?
If this thing gets pushed into next year and you move closer to the election, I mean, there's no question the 2010 election is very different than 2008.
Yeah.
Dems assume they're going to lose some seats. You know, there are a lot of areas where there were close races, marginal districts. No question, the Dems have to be concerned about getting the amnesty label, the tail pinned on the donkey. The donkey, right? Not the elephant.
Right. Yeah.
And they want to be real careful about that. So the possibility exists that it may get pushed off to 2011. I don't want to give people a sense, though, we cannot quit.
No.
This is something people got to remain vocal on, articulate. Lots going on in Arizona on this issue. People are Russell Pierce. I mean, I don't know how much is going on in Tucson. You've got a lot of friends in Phoenix who are working on the issue and down along the border. You know, Roger Barnett. FAIR was very active with Roger Barnett in helping defend his property. You know, FAIR is an organization that I think tries to deliver, right, to every level to get things done. So fairus.org. You want to get involved with FAIR. You know, we got people to work with in your area.
Thank you so much for taking time out this morning, Dan Stein, and thank you for having us here at this event. It's been
John,
we had a fantastic time, and we appreciate it.
It's an honor, and for those of you who haven't seen him, he has a very wise look. You really, it's amazing.
Well, that's partially due to you and the event that we had last night, so I appreciate that. Dan Stein, the president of the Federation for American Immigration Reform, thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir. We appreciate it. 751-1041 is the phone number. Let's go ahead and take an early break, and